Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Green Room Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. And Colin, I'm holding this phone in my hand. We got John Buggs, the North Texas commit. Had a storm go through his part of Louisiana and was not able to join us on the video, but we got him on the phone. John, you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here,
How you doing today?
man. I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So y'all holding out over there in Louisiana? You doing all right?
Oh yeah, everything's straight. We just had some little minor weather inconveniences. That's about it.
I mean, if there's one thing I learned when I moved to Louisiana is there's a lot of weather inconveniences.
Definitely. You
So,
feel me on that one?
yeah, I think 2 weeks after I moved here is when Ida hit, so I had to move.
Oh
I had to drive back to Texas from
That's
there.
crazy.
So it was yeah. I know plenty about it. The thing that was crazy down here is my first August. It's like every month of August, at least in Baton Rouge, which is obviously South Louisiana. It rains every single day. In
yeah.
and I'm obviously it's hurricane season, but it just rains every single day, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going outside today.
Facts. Can't do nothing when it's raining at all.
Oh,
Everything to do is outside, pretty much.
right,
Like, yeah.
exactly. All right, well let's get into North Texas a bit. First of all, congratulations on your commitment.
Appreciate it.
Transferring to North Texas. What went into that decision for you? What was it like in the portal? And everything.
Um, well, the decision was pretty easy. I ain't gonna lie, because we already knew each other. We had history. I actually, they knew me from JUCO or whatever, but I actually, one of my high school teammates had played at North Texas, Abu. So it was kind of easy. We all knew like a lot of people between me and the coaching staff. We had a lot of mutual connections and stuff like that too. So it wasn't really hard, after I seen who they was bringing on as the assistant coaches. I'm like, okay, these are my guys. Like I already knew them. They recruited me from other different spots and stuff. So that decision, it really wasn't too hard. And with my parents getting older, they touching their 60s now. They really kind of wanted me closer to home. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So it's only probably about 3.5 hours from the crib. So it was a pretty easy decision for me. But as far as the portal, it was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Like the last two times I was in the portal, it was pretty crazy. But this time it was just like, I don't know. It just all happened so quick. It's not my first time being recruited, but like I said, everybody was just telling me everything I wanted to hear, and they all wanted me to visit like the next day.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a different process than me coming out in high school or me coming out of JUCO or when I left UMass or whatever. But it was a great experience. It made me feel it like validated like that I was who I thought I was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was good because I ended up hearing from schools from pretty much every conference, from low majors to the high majors. So it was definitely like a sense of validation for myself.
From a basketball standpoint, obviously you had all those personal reasons for coming to North Texas, but from a basketball standpoint, how different is it going to be for you to go from a team like UTSA that, plays faster than North Texas does, with North Texas being one of the slowest teams, and then also from a defensive standpoint, having to be very physical, very, engaged, high energy. What is it like? What is that transition for you? Obviously, you haven't done a practice or anything yet, but thinking forward.
Well, I'm not sure.
Basically, John. Are you excited to play defense?
Yeah.
Listen, okay, I'm trying to formulate how I'm gonna do my answer. Look,
Okay.
first of all, the transition not gonna be hard. You know what I'm saying? In high school, I played in like a system for real, and we played slower. So I'm one of those people that like you can put me in any system and it'll work. Like just because like my game thrives off of just like shot making, so I can play in pretty much any system. But I mean, from basketball perspective, what got me with North Texas is even though they play slow, like one of my first conversations with them was like, "Oh, you made 80-something threes this year. How we gonna get you to make 100?" You feel me? So like, I feel like it's not gonna be too much different from a basketball perspective, offensively, anyways. But defensively, I don't know. I kind of hang my hat on defense. Like most people don't know this, but like I don't know. I feel like I'm one of probably the best defenders in the conference last year. Like if you ask the guards I was playing against, like I mean, I'm giving you smoke. Like when you play against me, like you gonna have to hit me with some, like I'm not one of those guys that just people scoring easily. And I think it was kind of not seen because area of emphasis or focus was not defense at UTSA. No knock to them, but that, to be honest, like that wasn't an area that we focused on a lot. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of just flew under the radar. But if you go back to like my JUCO days, or I was like one of the best defenders in JUCO. I think people had like a 19% field goal on me in JUCO. You can look it up through the synergy. But yeah, like so I think that's an underrated skill that like a lot of people don't know about me. That like obviously Coach Hodge know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But I feel like that was one of the strong points of my game. It's kind of like a 3-and-D type of person. Like that's what I kind of do. So I don't feel like that'll be much of a change for me just because I'm a competitor. You know what I'm saying? I don't like getting scored on. You know what I'm saying? I understand the concepts of defense is not hard, and I feel like I can be plugged in here pretty easy, honestly.
You mentioned, did you have a prior relationship or with Coach Hodge, or did he recruit you at any point, or was it like, what was it like getting to know him, I guess, in this process?
Honestly, so I'm like the person who helped me with my recruiting or whatever, shout out him. But he kind of connected me and Coach Hodge together. And initially, when I hit the portal, North Texas wasn't recruiting me because Coach Hodge didn't know I was going to be graduating. He thought I was going to have to sit out. And, okay. So we were familiar with each other from last year when I was in JUCO, but they didn't really, press me too hard. But man, when he found out that I was graduating, he hit me. And to be honest, like the first time we talked for like 45 minutes, and like he talked for like 42, and I talked for like 3. And,
that's funny.
It was a great conversation, man. Like honestly, it was very like genuine, and like like he was like, "This is what I want for you." He's like, I want you to be the first person I sign. He was like, you know how big that'll be for me and my era here in North Texas and stuff like that. And he was just saying like, like what can you do better than go against somebody who's like prepared to beat you? Like, he's like, I know everything about your game. I watch countless hours of film on you, like basically just running it with me. And then from that day on, man, he called me every day, like 30, 45 minutes just running it, about his family, my family, just life stuff. And so we gained a pretty good relationship. So probably about 2.5, 3 weeks in, that's when I visited. And man, it was just, I don't know, it was just good vibes, like he gave me what I wanted to see out of my next head coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was everything I wanted to be. The relationship that we had built in a short amount of time was definitely, like, influential also in me making my decision. So, shout out, Coach, man.
Just to be clear, because when I'm looking up your stats and stuff, it says you were a sophomore last year. You said you're graduating. So how many more years of eligibility do you have?
Yeah, so I got 2 years of eligibility left. I got injured in 19. I came to JUCO. I got injured in 20. So my first year playing for real was 21, 22 in college. And then I played this past year at UTSA. And now I got 2 to play.
Okay.
Because of COVID and redshirt. Okay, that makes sense.
How old are you, John?
I'm 23.
Okay.
I had a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
man.
birthday.
Happy
Appreciate
birthday.
that.
I forgot. Yeah, I did see that on Twitter. All right, yeah. So you got 2 years left. So you'll be playing till you're like 26, 27, man.
Yeah,
Stay.
man, I'll be the old head.
You'll be the old head. Going through your path since we brought it up. So this will be so you went from UMass to JUCO to UTSA to North Texas. Right. That's the. I remember on Twitter it looked like some UMass people were throwing you love too. What have all those stops? I mean, not to make it too long of a question, but like all those stops, how do you feel like they kind of shaped you into like the player you are now and I guess the person you are now? Because that's a lot of different levels you're going to back and forth and up and
And
down.
regionally too. I mean,
And
Massachusetts.
regionally too, yeah.
Yeah, I think it just broadened like my eyes pretty much on like from all angles of life. Honestly, like it was just UMass was good for me, just because it was different. JUCO was the trenches because I was living great at UMass. You know what I'm saying? Like JUCO was the trenches. I didn't go to like a big name JUCO for real. So it was like when I was at UMass, you feel me? Like I felt like I was on top of the world, and then the injuries happened, and it kind of like I was super low. You know what I'm saying? And then my injuries happened, and I was at JUCO, so I was like super low and stuff like that. But like I'm super thankful for like my injuries. You know what I'm saying? Like they just changed my whole perspective on life, like on the way I approach the game. Like I'm just much more appreciative in that aspect. But at JUCO, like I was saying, that was the trenches, man. It was tough out there. Like, I was coming off 2 ACL injuries. Like, I didn't necessarily have the proper things to take care of my body,
Yeah.
But I went above and beyond. Like, I really learned how to take care of my body with less at JUCO. You know what I'm saying? And then coming to UTSA, it was just like a real experience for me to get my confidence back. Like, just playing at the Division I level again, like, yeah, I don't know. It was crazy, bro. Like I don't know how to explain it other than crazy, but I don't know, man. It's a great feeling to lose it all and come back. So it just really made me feel like I could really just do anything. Like, and then me getting the opportunity now to transfer to a highly respected program like North Texas, it just proves to myself like I could do anything I really put my mind to. And these experiences, they've been great. I mean, I feel like they shape me into like a wholesome person. And I can, I got stories to tell, you know what I'm saying? I've been through some stuff. I've seen this and that, and I've experienced a lot of different things that a lot of people can't necessarily say they've experienced. So I think that makes my story kind of unique, and it shapes the way that I interact with people. You know what I'm saying? The way I go about trying to live my life and stuff like that is kind of based on my career and how it's went, honestly.
Yeah.
So
when Ross was talking to you and for 42 of the 45 minutes, did he talk about the success that junior college players had like with him and like the players have gone that route? I mean, with especially this past year with Tyler and all the guys.
Well, we didn't really touch on that because like it was already understood. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
I already knew J Ham, Reese. Like I already knew.
Okay, so you know so you knew the history of kind of the past few years in North
those
Texas.
guys. I know those guys just from like a booth, like me being up there. Like I used to come to the games and stuff all the time when I was in JUCO and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like I know those guys, so I know I'm there for them. So it wasn't like a lot of selling to do. It was just about, you know, connecting, building a relationship, and then going from there.
Yeah. Right. Huh?
So just to kind of get away from basketball, what's one thing that you want to let the fans know about yourself that they may not know about you, whether that's something like a hobby or something that you do?
Let me see. Oh, my hobby. What I do on my off time is like I ride and train horses.
Okay. Really?
So, like, yeah.
That's live.
That's my thing.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't know what y'all doing up there in North Louisiana.
Yeah, I ride and train horses, man.
Oh, that is cool.
I've been doing that since I was like 10 or 11, like training part. I've been riding since, you know, before I had a basketball in my hand. But yeah, that's my thing, man.
Do you I don't know if this probably might be a dumb question, but did you watch like the Kentucky Derby? Like
I usually
horse
do.
racing?
It's funny because my best friend sent me the videos because he's from Kentucky, but no, I didn't watch it, man. We had a lot of stuff going on with my family. We had a death, an unexpected death. So it's
sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah, it's kind of been a crazy week, but I usually do watch it though.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right, man. I think that's all we got. I think we kept you long enough, man. It's great talking to you, getting to meet you, and everything like that. Hope everything's good up there in Homer. If you're ever down in Baton Rouge, let me know.
Definitely. Actually, I might be down there in a couple days.
Oh.
I'll let you know.
All right, man. All right, yeah. Let me know. All right, John. Appreciate it, man.
Well, I appreciate you too. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, man. You too.
You too.
What a guy.
Yo, it's an amazement that Ross got 42 minutes because we got 3 minutes and he got 13 minutes.
I was like, Ross must have been
going crazy.
Ross was going because I love John. John could talk, man. That was
John's
great.
awesome. I love John.
That was great. So, great stories, man. Great all around. Awesome.
The horse thing's pretty cool, actually. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, hey, no, North Louisiana. I don't know what they getting into up there, but that's cool.
What's that called? Equestrian? Is that what it's called?
Equestrian, I guess.
You train horses? Being an equestrian?
Well, I thought equestrian was, I don't know. I can't say.
No, it's relating to horse riding.
Okay. Well, close enough.
Maybe.
But shout out John. And shout out John shouting out the person who helps him with recruiting.
That was funny.
We both looked at each other like he didn't say his name or nothing. He just shouted him out. I was like, all right. Well, hey, he'll know. He'll know when he hears it. Go ahead.
So obviously we just got done interviewing John Buggs, but North Texas also recruited 2 other players, forward/center and another guard from Dakota City. I unfortunately forgot both their names just by because.
Are you gonna ask me the question and then forget their names?
Jason Edwards from Dakota City.
Was it Dodge City? I thought
Dodge City. I'm sorry, Dodge City, and then Robert Allen from Mississippi State. Ole Miss. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
That's all right. I was sending the link to our next guest, so I wasn't really looking.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So just to reiterate, Robert Allen from Ole Miss, and then Jason Edwards from Dodge City.
And Edwards comes over. Was it 21 points per game last year? Everyone's very, very excited. 6'1" guard. Looks like exactly what you expect the North Texas junior college point guard to come in looking like.
Well, you know what's interesting is that
first guard.
They've gotten taller still at the guard position. Like
even with 6'1", 6'3", yeah.
Yeah, 6'1", 6'3", because you had Tyler Perry who's 5'11", 5'10", and then Javion was what? Or Javion. Oh my gosh,
Man, you having a
I've
tough day
been
here.
having memory issues recently. It's kind of
Oh
bad.
my God.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. The other day, Norma told me, she goes, I was trying to think of something I just did and I couldn't remember it. But yeah,
He said,
they're large at the guard position. I can't still remember his name somehow. I know exactly who it
I've been
is.
having Kai, but Kai was
Kai,
like 6'2".
Jesus
Kai,
Christ.
Kai was like
Javion.
6'2", 6.
Yeah. So hey, you get bigger at the
6'2".
guard position, and then you get. I don't know what Robert. I mean, you would know more about Robert Allen than I would at Ole Miss. He didn't play a lot, but 6'8". He adds experience. He has physicality. So I mean, I like all these pickups. They're great.
I like
pickups.
them. Like I said, Edwards, 6'1", 20-point per game scorer in junior college level. Where have we heard a prolific junior college scorer before? Right, like we've heard it from Rose, Javion, Tyler. Like, completely fits the mold of what North Texas wants at the guard position.
I mean, shoot, Bugs for UTSA, he was a prolific scorer last year.
Yeah, exactly. 40% 3-point shooter. Like, you know what you're getting from Bugs too.
Yep.
So as a 1-2 punch, let's not forget they still have Aaron on this team. They still have Ruben on this team. So you have those two. Sissoko still here, and then they add Robert Allen, and who's a 6'8" forward, who I think personally, like, even if he's not a starter, you put him as a backup to Aaron Scott, and you're like, okay, now we have 2 6'8" guys we can rotate in there at the 4 spot, and it's kind of like a Jaden Martinez replacement, and I think it's probably an upgrade for a guy who played 16 minutes per game at Ole Miss last year.
Yep, I completely agree. Not only that, you could also probably put him at center as well.
Well, my whole thing was, I think Aaron Scott's a high major player.
Oh, I was surprised. I mean, we both talked about this a lot. We were surprised that Aaron Scott didn't go somewhere else just because of how
Tech.
Or to Tech, but anywhere else. I mean,
yeah,
he's last in the postseason last year. This last season, I guess he just came out. He just coming out party. It was amazing. So,
exactly. So
with these pickups, I am very excited about this team going next year, and I don't think that this is going to be a quote unquote rebuilding year. Obviously, it's going to be a harder conference from a basketball standpoint, but I think they are in the same spot they were last year, where they're going to have to come out with obviously something to prove, but they have the players and experience to do very well.
Like, obviously Tyler and Abu were like known commodities.
Yeah.
But you look at it from like a talent perspective, they've already kind of reloaded all the spots that we need. And if Sissoko at the 5 can be what we think he is.
Well, what he was. If he
what he was.
Listen,
yeah.
all I need
from a consistency standpoint, it's kind of getting, I get
sure.
So
sure.
But yeah, love the pickups so far. I don't know how many spots they have left. I'd have to look at it. I'm sure they have a few still to go. Probably need another guard, or definitely need another guard. But I mean, Ruben can slide into the 1. That's what makes it so interesting, is that you have Ruben, who's just a versatile freaking guy. It's gonna be a good team. I mean, people are talking a lot about UAB, because it's obviously like, people look at Memphis, people look at FAU as the top 2 in the American right now, and then it's like after that, it's like who's going to step into 3rd? North Texas, UAB, both of them are going to be really good. So,
yeah.
All right, for our next guest, look at us seamlessly transitioning. Don't even have to edit this podcast.
This is great.
Let's get the layout right before I add him in. We got none other than Ishmael Johnson.
What's good, boys?
Then you got a fancy mic. That's crazy.
No, it's just a cover on a regular Yeti.
It's still crazy.
Yeah, we had John Bugs on before you on this.
Oh man, I gotta step up here.
That's what we were talking North Texas basketball on here for a bit.
Yeah. Did y'all dance on the corpse of UTSA basketball, or what?
Yeah.
Did y'all all do the Nigerian funeral dance on hoisting Steve Henson's casket?
We should have just asked him, like, "Yo, what's up with Steve Henson?
Yeah,
what's going on over there?
Tell us what really happened."
Yeah,
seriously.
He was all he said was, we were like, "Are you ready to play defense in North Texas?" And he was like, "Well, I've been a good defender my whole career. Junior college, it's just last year UTSA, it wasn't really a point of emphasis."
Yeah, he said. I think the quote was, "His defense wasn't like a thing that they did there."
Yeah, something like that.
It was like, all right.
Like,
hey, what? We all saw the game, so I guess
We know. It's like he said no disrespect. I was like, it's not disrespect. It's honest. They were
It's what it is.
man. We all saw
like
the game.
Henson don't care about defense. We know this. We've been on this. But all right, we gotta talk football here because
Let's go.
we got football to talk about. Where do we even start with this? Because we wanted you on to get like an outsider perspective, even though obviously you're an insider, but you're like state
I get what you mean.
Insider, outsider.
Yeah.
First of all, I think if we go back to last year,
Mm-hmm.
like we start with the Seth Luttrell era, the end of the Seth Luttrell era. Because I don't think I ever got your opinion on this. What was your thoughts on the Seth Luttrell decision to fire him? Because it was debated up and down. They made bowl games, they did all this, all that, and they fired him. What were your thoughts on that?
I guess for me, it was kind of one or two ways because I could see the very critical. I guess there was like a vocal. I don't know if it was a minority or majority. That was
It was us too.
It was y'all too. Yeah, exactly. But no, I could hear the vocal critics, right? What the issues were. They couldn't beat anybody out of conference. Bowl games, they always seemed to, whether or not they had injuries or whatever. Like I know that Mason Fine team had a ton of injuries, but still, like they always came out flat in bowl games. Just it wasn't. By the time the bowl game came around, the party was over. Nobody really cared. I could see that. And I think for me, if you want to talk about like ceiling, there's definitely an argument to be meant there about like what was the ceiling of that team. I do think he raised the floor of the program. This UNT was, at least until October, UNT wasn't or November, I should say, probably. UNT wasn't really a doormat as they had been in previous eras. And he brought a lot of talent in. Whether or not he got the most out of that talent, you could say, that could be a critical. You can just see the transfers leaving and where they're going to see that they brought in some talent. But whether or not he had the best coaches or systems to get the best out of that, that's one thing to be said. I thought it was the best time to move on, if that makes sense. If they were staying in Conference USA, yeah, maybe see if they would hold on. I would have understood. Going to the AAC, knowing that your rival UTSA is going with you to the AAC, knowing that you're going to be facing the likes of Tulane and your crosstown rival SMU, and just knowing how those games have gone in the past, I definitely saw that there was room for change. Because as much as like when UNT was like in November in particular, when they were really good, usually the past couple of years, especially when they really got rolling, they were pretty interesting to watch. They were very physical. They had, last year they had a lot of depth in the backfield. The quarterback position obviously just took what he had after Mason Fine, and he never really seemed to figure out that position, despite trying to bring in 20 different arms every offseason, it felt like.
But they always lottery tickets. That's what we would always liken it. We said he's just buying all the lottery scratch offs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Ones just work.
Didn't hit a single one. Didn't even get a
Jace Ruder. Let me get a Grant Cannell. Let me see. Exactly. And then nobody would bench Austin on it. And so like, yeah, I get it. There was like an identity at some point. There became an identity to his teams. It took a while to get there, but I think talent-wise, I think if anything you learned about Seth Luttrell or the era is that you can bring talent to UNT, and that the floor should rightly be around 6 wins, right? But then eventually the ceiling, you want to start punching into the early Seth Luttrell area where they were competing for double-digit wins and things like that.
Yeah, I think you worded it well there. Sorry, Colin, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So I really like what you said about how Seth raised the floor, because I feel like not enough credit is given to him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Eric Morris is the right hire for him to raise the floor even higher? Because obviously the AAC is a different level. You already mentioned Tulane, Memphis, SMU, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
How well do you like that Eric Morris? How much do you like that Eric Morris hire?
Yeah, I mean, for those listening that don't know, I'm a Texas State alum, and Eric Morris was tied to the Texas State job as well. There's some back and forth on what happened there, whether he pulled out or whether, because UNT was coming, or whether or not Texas State moved on. He's an intriguing hire. I definitely think that out of the names that were floated around, I probably would have leaned him, or I think Garrett Riley was somebody who was mentioned as well.
Yeah.
I would have probably leaned more him, Morris in terms of head coaching experience.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that UIW was an awful job before he got there, like a bad job. Brune, you grew up in San Antonio. That was a doormat of a program before he got there. Like it was, they won maybe 1 or 2 games. The facilities were awful. And he turned them into, you know, getting to the playoffs, and then GJ Kinney getting to the semifinals. Like he is a proven head coach. And I think him going from UIW to Wazoo and then bringing his offense there and successfully doing that with an FCS quarterback. Cam Ward's rise, he played triple option in high school. Like that's insane. Like he was not a quarterback who should be throwing for 4,000 yards, and Eric Morris saw something there, turned him into that. And I think he is. I think he's somebody who, if not, again, it's we're all group of 5 alums, so it's like you're not exactly picking from the best cream of the crop, so you got to take some chances. And so whether or not Eric Morris is that guy, I don't know. I think out of the names that were mentioned, like I wasn't a Kenny Perry guy. I wasn't again, Garrett Riley was the other one. Justin Fuente's throwing out a lot. I wasn't a Justin Fuente guy. In terms of raising the ceiling, you got to take a chance.
I remember when Kenny Perry was being talked about, and
man, there's some stuff that I can tell you off air that about that whole.
Everyone's like, no, please, God, no, please,
no. If you firing Seth Luttrell to bring in a Joey Maguire 2.0 is not. Was not it.
But I do think that you make the right point. Is that we looked at it when it was one of my favorite podcasts. I think we did was after Eric Morris was hired. We laid out the differences between him and Seth Luttrell because they were the same age when hired. I think 37 when hired. Eric Morris has multiple years as a head coach, has more success within his offenses at the levels that he came from. And honestly, last year could have been hired as the North Texas coach. Like if Luttrell was fired after last year, which was a conversation, he would have been one of the ones that they were looking at. Like this is a multiple year evaluation from Ren Baker and Jared Mosley at North Texas. So that's where I think is a really interesting hire, to where this isn't just a 1-year thing. This isn't him just coming from being a good offensive coordinator. Like we saw him at Incarnate Word do this. So that's the exciting part. All right, now as y'all, I know y'all over there have already started talking about how good these teams are. What are your expectations for North Texas? Very generally, I'm not going to ask for specifics, but do you expect them to be good?
Yeah, I expect them. I wouldn't be shocked if this year's a little rough. I don't think they'll be bad. But again, the AAC, I don't think this is a roster you can turn over and all of a sudden contend in the AAC. Especially with a lot of the talent they lost. I mean, again, because it was the system thing, but like losing all those tight ends that are incredible talents.
Jake Roberts, Varkey's Gums, and then Jair Shorter, receiver, Sean Gaddy at corner.
That's a lot of skill position.
Linebacker.
Yeah, that's a lot of skill position talent just gone. And so that's going to be tough. But I think that what you'll see is the if I'm a UNT fan, let's put it this way. I don't want to see the past couple years against SMU happen again. Right. Like that's all I'm looking for right now. Right. I'm not looking to compete in the AAC right away. That's for as he gets his guys in, he put together a great support staff as well. That's for the recruiting guys to take care of down the line. What I'm looking for is what's this system look like with Chandler Rogers? Who's the receivers that are going to step up? What's the defense going to look like? Because that's always been an Achilles heel as well. Yep. Offensive line play, things like that. Like I'm just looking for the pieces right now. Obviously, I'm not saying they're going to go, they're not going to be a doormat in the AAC. I think they'll be middle of the pack, punching into that top. But I think right now the top is pretty set with UTSA, Tulane, SMU. Like I think those guys are in another Memphis as well. But I'll say like that next pack, that 4 to 5 range, I'd expect us to be in there. And no more getting blown out by 30 to your team right across the highway.
Yeah, that's what Colin always says. It's about how you look when you
because I was so tired of Seth Luttrell getting wins, but then the losses, they just look so awful. Like it's like what are we doing here?
Right.
It's like
it was the I always go back to that Marshall game 2 years ago. Where it's it was nobody was at the stadium. You're getting your butt kicked by Marshall, who was fine but not incredible. And it's like, what are we doing? And he had obviously you have every year you have that loss to SMU, but he always had that one loss in conference, which is like, what are you doing? And that's eventually you just got to do away with that, because those are your peers. Those are the teams that you should be recruiting against and being right there with. You have the best facilities probably in the group of 5 in the state, and you have some of the best group of 5 facilities in the country. So it's like, yeah, you shouldn't be getting out muscled for for 60 minutes on the field.
Do you think that if there is a similar look to the team as it has in years past, that we should give Eric Morris a pass, or do you think people should be concerned instantly?
If there's a similar look like this year, or
like in terms of the way where it's like, yeah, you're winning against the teams that you played before. Like if you're giving a game to UTSA, but you're getting destroyed by Tulane or SMU, like you did in the past, like how, because my thing is with Seth, obviously in his first year, no one thought that anything was going to happen. Obviously you lose to Portland State 66 to whatever, doesn't matter. And then you give him that year and there's all that upward momentum. There was almost a mistake there because you're like, it's always going to be that next year. I don't want to go too far ahead in Eric Morris, but how much do you want Eric Morris to pass the eye test? Obviously, I expect a few blowouts, but if it's an SMU thing where you're losing by 30 or you're losing to Tulane or all those other teams that are on that upper echelon, is that going to be a problem for you?
I think the eye test will be something to keep an eye on, because let's put it this way. I've been a big fan of Chandler Morris for a while. When I started at Dave Campbell's, he was his last couple of years. I think it was his last year at Lake Ridge, and covering Texas State. What was that?
Chandler Rogers.
Yes. What did I say?
Chandler Morris.
We do that all the time.
We do that all the time on this podcast.
Eric Morris, Chandler Rogers. Anyway, Chandler Rogers. I've been a fan of his for a while, because I started covering high school at a statewide level his last year at Lake Ridge, and then Texas State's in the Sun Belt, and so I saw him at ULM. And so, like, what I would like to see is him kind of work his magic with a quarterback who hasn't always been in the best situation, who has talent, who has capabilities, and him married with that system. Because I remember when Morris first started at UIW, it was John Copeland, who wasn't this stellar quarterback, right? Argyle. He was fine, right? He wasn't this guy who lit up the field, but they made the playoffs with him, right? And obviously Cam Ward is kind of his latest project. And it was like, okay, if you have tools and you have capabilities, he's able to tailor something to you. And I like, eventually with Seth Luttrell, I think the biggest thing that after Mason Fine, every year you try to figure out what the offense was, and it was like, okay, are you air raid, right? Because that's what you did with Mason Fine. But okay, you have some good running backs. Okay, he likes to run the ball. He's a former fullback. So like, what was his mentality? He kind of changed it up on the go. It felt like every year. And so if I'm with Eric Morris, I feel like there's like a blueprint, right? It's going to hinge on quarterback play. It's going to be about getting the most out of your quarterback. If you have a big arm, it's about stretching the field. If you don't, it's about spreading it around horizontally, And I would just think, eye test wise, that's what I'm hoping to see is like seeing that identity play out on the field. Because I think that's another thing that hurt Seth Luttrell was when he didn't have a quarterback, it was like, I don't know what you run, you have talent, so you win games, but you're not exactly it's not exactly the most predictable thing.
Speaking of quarterbacks real quick.
Yep.
How surprised are you that Grant Gunnell just continues to like not be able to find a home?
Man, that is a journey. Well, hopefully he has found a home. Talking to Sam Houston, they're really excited about him. They had some quarterback I'll just tell you, they thought they had Chandler Rogers before I think they were conversing with him, I believe. And then I think Cal called, and then of course UNT called, and he never called them back. So so they're actually very happy to get Grant Gunnell, because they were
Texas went green.
Crazy.
They're really happy about Grant Gunnell. His career is wild. I mean, this is a guy who started as a freshman at Arizona, right? Yeah. And like still holds the passing records for all of Texas high school football. Mm-hmm. I think there's been some, without getting into names, I think there's been some issues with his handling and decision making as far as like why he's transferring and leaving certain places. I don't think he's an issue. Let's put it that way. I think he has talent and he has capabilities. I think that once things, I mean, put it this way, from what I heard at Memphis, when he transferred there, he was in line to be the guy at Memphis. Mm-hmm. I think that Seth Hennigan I think that they kept it open theoretically with Seth Hennigan and got there. He was going to be in line to start, but somebody got in his ear and said, "Oh, they're not naming you the guy. Go to North Texas." Right. And so I think that kind of ruined his trajectory a little bit, because he can't just be bad after starting as a freshman at Arizona. Right. He's not trash. Right. So I think maybe there have been some lapses in judgment there. According to Sam Houston, he's, I'll put it this way, he's probably the best guy that they're going to have since Eric Schmid, who won the title a couple years ago. And according to him, he has his head on right. But yeah, that's just unfortunate that's been an unfortunate career for him.
Yeah, it's just interesting bringing it up to looking at it. But the North Texas quarterback, that's been the hot button for us, is going through Jace Ruder, Stone Earl, and Chandler Rogers. But I think we all expect Chandler Rogers to win the job. Like, it would be surprising if Chandler Rogers did not win the job. It was surprising to us, however, that he wasn't getting reps early on. And it seemed like Jace Ruder was getting all the reps and all the stats and all the numbers. And it was like, okay, is this thing about to happen? Because we've seen Jace Ruder. People forget Jace Ruder beat out Austin Aune in the 2021 season for the starting job when he came from North Carolina. And we were like, hey, I was like, hey, this guy needs to start because I'm tired of Austin Aune. That was 2021. And then he goes out there and played some of the worst quarterbacking I've ever seen from a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, it's been 2 years. Has he changed? And I think Chandler Rogers is still the quarterback, though. I would be shocked if he's not.
I'd be angry because that means that it was a whiff, and then we have to go back to Jace Ruder.
Right. Yeah, that'd be the biggest thing for me, is like, oh, your big transfers turns out to not be the guy, Well,
because that was the thing that I had a problem with Seth, is you bring in all these quarterbacks, you'd have 6 quarterbacks in the roster, and you'd still play the same one you've had since Mason. So it's like,
yeah, it's awesome. Let's see what else I have here. So I guess to make sure we hit on this, in the American, are you worried about North Texas long term? Do you think they have a bright future long term? I guess when you look at everything in terms of facilities, fan support, structure, coaching now, the ability to get talent, where do you think they stack up in the American as it's currently constituted?
I mean, in the American, I think that I'm not worried about them in the American. I think that where they are right now is take on the field out of it, just like as far as money, funding, all that stuff. I think they're near the top in the American. You can look at just the availability of an indoor facility. You can look at Apogee Stadium. You can just look at a lot of resources that they were able to throw at Eric Morris's staff, right? Things like that. Like they have resources. Money's not an issue. You can look at some of the programs like USF and see like, oh yeah, they're not, not everybody here is flush with cash, right? USF or UTSA who can't afford to fire their basketball coach because their football coach wanted a general manager. So like, yeah, like, you could look at things like that. And so I think that it's not, I don't know. I think this was the right move. Obviously, I think you're still a little bit of ways from getting with an SMU, right? But that's a donor thing, right? That's not really a facilities thing. They have different money at SMU than UNT does, private versus public, things like that. But I think that I don't know. There's no reason why that UTSA should be up there and UNT shouldn't, right? That's like, you can just, as a face comparing 1-to-1, that's what you can look at, right? It's just like UTSA is like up there with SMU right now. There's no reason that UNT shouldn't have expectations to be up there. Whether that'll happen this year, probably not. Next year, maybe, we'll see. They have the money to get it done. And now it seems like, I'm going to get back on the Luttrell versus Morris thing. Like, the fact that Seth Luttrell was able to get talent in without really utilizing DFW recruiting, right? Like, that's something that Morris can hopefully build on, where it's like he basically ceded that territory to SMU, where it's like, yeah, they can have all of DFW basically.
Let them put the billboards up.
Right. Yeah. They can straight up hang billboards up from Duncanville all the way to South Lake Carroll and say, yeah, this is Dallas's program. It's like, what are you doing here?
Dallas jerseys and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
stand up.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, stand up. Literally. I mean, Morris walks into South Oak Cliff and gets 3 kids, and it's like, oh, look, cool. Look how easy that was, right?
Yeah. That's funny.
That's
really
sense.
Funny.
Go ahead, Con.
So we had a poll the other day
Yep.
Which is again something that's a little bit more fun. We had a poll the other day of who is everyone's favorite NFL North Texas player. We got killed for it because we didn't apparently list everyone that everyone wanted, and it didn't make sense to me.
No, tell them who we didn't list.
Well, the only person we didn't list that should have been on there instead of Patrick Cobbs was going to be Zach Orr. But we had Lance Dunbar in our mentions.
Lance Dunbar quoted our poll.
He was upset.
Included Jeffrey Wilson, Mean Joe Green, and Patrick Cobbs, and then other. We're like, okay, cool, other. And Lance Dunbar quotes it and says something like, "Wow, couldn't even make the poll." And I'm like, Jeffrey Wilson has already doubled your stats.
Disrespecting Cowboys legend Lance
in the
Dunbar.
NFL. I was like, if anything, we should put Zachary Orr up here. Zach Orr should have been, or Craig Robertson. One of these two. Lance Dunbar is not making the top 4 NFL players here. And then everybody in the comments was like, man, y'all just don't remember Lance Dunbar. Y'all just too young. Y'all don't do this. I'm like, we're talking NFL. We're not talking.
I was about to say Dallas is what, 3rd running back?
Yeah, someone said, he ran for 250 on K-State. I'm like, is that the NFL? Is that the NFL?
Yeah.
Is that the NFL? No, he was the 3rd string behind Marion Barber in Dallas. Sorry. Colin, I don't know where you're going with that question, but I was
just gonna ask him who his favorite North Texas NFL player was.
Oh, that's a good question.
Bruni just kind of got a little heated there. Sorry.
He's still very, very sensitive to that.
Yeah. Because the replies. That's a really good question. Sorry.
Or is a solid one, just because I remember that that was one of the first UNT players I remember going to the NFL.
Yeah, and all pro. He was all pro, and then he got injured.
Yeah. Or is a good one. I might go Patrick Cobb.
You like Patrick Cobbs that much?
I like Patrick Cobbs, man. I really do.
See, it was great to put Patrick Cobbs in the poll.
All right, good job.
See, that's the only reason I put him in there, because I knew he'd be a fan favorite.
Honestly, I think not including him or others is a good idea, just to stir up content.
Right.
It worked. I mean, hey, Lance Dunbar.
I was about to say, it worked. Clearly gets people fired up.
Yeah. Who knew Lance Dunbar was going to get it going?
I love that Mason's fine name was thrown in there, and it's like, hey, I don't want to have to say anything bad, but he's in the NFL. I was about to say,
you don't want to do that.
Not in the NFL. Just read the question. That's awesome. Is there a North Texas moment that you think of that you're like, damn, that was a North Texas moment I always think of? And it doesn't have to be this. But I know you were in attendance when North Texas beat Texas State in the NIT 2 years ago.
All right, listen. What's happening?
In overtime, double overtime, whatever it was, and Texas State was up 5 with 10 seconds left and choked the game away. But other than that, do you have another favorite moment?
All right. I'm gonna ignore that, like I always do.
That was a great game.
It sucks because that was a great game. That's what makes it suck more.
Was that the picture Colin Kennedy posted?
Yes, that's every time I say something questionable to Colin, he always posts that picture of him looking at me at the game, because it was me, him, Nick Harris, Ashley Pickle, and I think Mallory was there as well. Yeah, I was surrounded by a UNT fan. I think Gabe Brooks was there too. I hate that game so much.
What a guy. Yeah.
Just step out on time.
Not a time to be around all those people, huh?
I was cooking for 70% of that game. I was feeling great. Ready to walk out of there with a dub, and then they forget to close out on Tyler Perry. Anyway, I'd say honestly, what year was? Oh no, the Bussy catch. The Bussy catch against UTSA.
The drive.
Yeah, the drive. That was awesome. That was, I think. That might have been the first UTSA UNT game I watched in full. Because I don't know, were they? I can't remember because I think UNT wasn't quite there. They weren't really hitting their stride under Seth yet.
That was 2017. That was the second. That was the second season.
That was the year they got destroyed by FAU in the championship game.
Yes. Yeah, that was 2017. Right.
Yes. 2017. And so, so UTSA was riding. They had the bowl game. They were really sailing under Frank Wilson, and they had all the momentum. And then UNT, that game was awesome. Genuinely. I think Apogee was rocking then. I think they had just gotten their ass kicked by SMU. So again, it was the UNT really hadn't hit its real stride yet. I think the next year was Sonny Dykes' first year, so they finally beat SMU. And so
that was the moment for me.
Was it the moment? The SMU game?
A lot of people would take the Arkansas game
Yeah,
which the Arkansas win was great for us.
it was great, but
Obviously,
Arkansas wasn't great that
In
year.
hindsight, that game was not even like a big win. when
The
you
Right,
think
right.
about
SMU
it.
win that year, the SMU win that year, the first game of the season to curb stomp SMU
Yeah,
That was
at
nuts.
home
That was
was
nuts.
the most fulfilling win I've ever had.
Yeah.
Student, fan, supporter. Just hopefully, we get that again at some point. That would be nice.
I
Yeah.
unfortunately can only think of bad moments, so I'm not.
No,
I mean,
Colin, what moment I think of
what?
is at your house when we watched them lose to Charlotte
Oh,
on the Hail Mary-esque play.
then
Oh,
they used
no.
the ODU the next week, or was it the
And
week
then they
before
lose
they
to
lost it?
They just that 20 I was thinking about it, Colin. Look at that 2021 season, all the bad losses. How did
Let me see.
we've just
There's
lost our mind.
is that the year Charlotte ODU?
I'm sorry.
It's a 2019.
Look.
Rice that year when Mason finds his last chance
Yeah,
to get into a bowl
2019.
game.
That was the
was
saddest
crazy.
game
That
ever.
was the saddest.
Oh,
And we
no, I
drove
forgot
down
they
there.
lost to Rice,
And we drove down there for that game.
Drove to Houston.
Oh,
They were
no.
they were 4-6. They had to beat Rice and they had to beat UAB to make a bowl game. They lose to Rice, who had not won a game yet. Rice ended up winning like 3 games at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Lose to Rice, and everybody's just sobbing. I'd never been in such a sad scene.
Oh my God, that is
anyway,
awful.
There's so many
Shout out
sad
Mason.
moments.
Oh, 2019. Yeah, 20. I don't know why I don't remember 2019 being this.
That's why.
2019 was. We literally, I don't know if you remember, but we literally had magazine covers. Like we were going.
This is it. That was our hashtag.
This is it. Was our hashtag because this was
Really?
the year we had 26 seniors with Mason Fine and
Right.
all these
Last
guys.
ride
Rico
with them.
Bus- Yeah, all of them. Here, I have the cover
Garbage.
still. Here's the cover.
Oh no.
Look at
That's
that.
crazy.
Oh,
Look at that.
That's crazy.
4 and 8.
why don't I remember that
4
year
and
being-
8.
4 and
Why
8.
don't I remember that year being that bad? Oh my God. I
It
just
was
erased
awful.
it from my memory.
Just,
It was really bad.
It was really bad.
And that's when Seth started to,
That
so
was done. 2019, 2021. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it. Well, good talking to you, Ish.
Yeah, man.
We appreciate you for coming on. This was a great podcast. We had
it was
we had
seamless
basketball.
transitions too.
Yeah, I told-
Great.
I
That's
texted
right.
Ish.
Producer extraordinaire over here.
I said, just get in here. He said, all right. And here we go. All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on the Republic of Football podcast network. Again, we will link it at the bottom of the YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody watching on YouTube as well. That's continued to go well. We're getting more and more viewers every episode, so we appreciate that. We'll have more guests coming on next week. We'll see if we can get any players or coaches on the football side. If not, I think we have some more basketball we can always dip into if we need it. But yeah, thank y'all for joining us, and we will talk to y'all later.